Welcome to PaGamO, the teaching tutorial. As a teacher, upon login, the first thing that you see is your teaching console. There you get an overview of all the classes that you are currently teaching in PaGamO. As you can see here, me as a teacher, I am only teaching a single class right now, but if I wanted to add more classes, I could do so easily by going to the My Class drop-down and clicking the green button to add a class. Simply enter the class name and the number of students and click Add Class. For now, however, let's continue with my single class here to get a good overview. Managing my students gives me an overview over all the students in the class. I can see a simple student list, or I can go to the group status where I can group the students randomly or based on my assessment of them. If I would like to have additional groups, I can do so easily. I simply use the blue button to add a new group. If I would like to change the grouping of the students, I simply use drag and drop and pull students into different groups. If a group is empty, it will automatically disappear. In the Manage Question Set section, the teacher is able to see an overview of all the question sets previously assigned, like here, the homework and grammar tasks that I've assigned to my students. I can also create a new question set, clicking the blue button to create a new question set. Here I choose the publisher, the subject, the year, and the volume. Note that the publisher could be your own question bank. I will show you how to use your question bank later on. There are three different methods to select the questions I want to assign. If I choose Create Manually, I will hand-pick the different questions. If I choose the automatic mode, the computer or the system will basically select the questions for me. If I choose semi-automatic, I can choose the different question kinds and difficulty levels of the questions. Continue, I can get an overview over the different difficulty levels in the question set and the different chapters represented in the question set. Apparently, this question set is mainly dealing with conjugation and the simple past. If I click Save, the question set will be saved successfully, and it will now appear here in the bar on the left-hand side. If I wish to assign a question set, I go to Assign Mission. All question sets in PaGamO will be assigned in shape of a mission so that the students are more motivated and that it's more intuitive for them to actually do your homework assignments. In the Assign Mission part, I then create a new mission, give it a name, a description if I would like to, choose a reward, for example, a magic potion, and the number of rewards available. This means that if the student completes the question set, they will be eligible for a reward. If I select, as in my current class there are 11 students, if I select 11 rewards, basically any student, if they complete the homework, would be eligible for a reward. However, I can also limit the number of rewards so that only the first few that finish the assignment will actually receive that reward as a prize for finishing the homework first. Since there is a certain cost associated with buying these rewards, those costs are question points, that a teacher only has a limited amount of, I'm choosing to only have one reward available. I can then choose the completion rate for the mission, either 100% or they only need to complete a certain lower percentage of the question set. In my case, I'm very demanding. I want them to complete 100%. I then pick the start and end time of the mission. It's automatically set to 1 week. If I would like to change that, I can simply go here and change the calendar settings of the availability. As you can see now, the students only have 2 days to complete the question set instead of 1 week. Now let me quickly explain the question points. A teacher gets question points when their students solve questions. So the more questions are solved by my students, the more question points I will have in order to give them more rewards. That's how the system works. It's motivating for both the teacher and the student actually. When I click the Save button, I will confirm quickly and the new mission will be created. I then choose whom to assign the mission to. I could assign it to just 1 or 2 groups in my class, or I can assign it to the entire class, which is what I will do in this case. Note that if you have several classes, they will all be listed here, and you could even assign the same mission to several classes. This is completely up to how you design your assignments. In the Share Question Set area, I can choose whether to share my question sets with other teachers or not. If you do, you can view other teachers' question sets in the forum afterwards. However, other teachers' question sets may be used but not edited. As mentioned before, you have your own teacher question bank. In this question bank, you can create and upload your own questions. The first step is always to edit the chapter categories in order to set up a good organization chart of your content, then to create the questions and store them to the appropriate category, and afterwards view the question in your question list. As you can see here, added category, create question, and then view questions in your question list. If you would like to have a detailed view of the question bank functions, please view our separate tutorial on the question bank. I will just quickly walk you through the question bank here. If you go to the edit category part, you can add a subject. And by clicking on the name of the subject, you can adjust the different books or the different contents you have in here. Maybe and there you go. Now you have created a good structure, and if you store questions to these different chapters and sub-chapters, you will have a more organized overview over your content, which can be very useful later on when creating assignments. In the method to create question, you can either upload questions or create them manually. Creating manually, you can choose the different kinds of questions. Currently available are multiple choice, true or false, and fill in the blank questions. However, there will be more question kinds to be added later on, so keep up to date with the new functions we add to PaGamO on a constant basis. If you were to create a multiple choice question, the system is very intuitive. Just note that the first thing you have to choose is where to store the question on the left-hand side. Choose which subject to save to, which volume, and which chapter to save to. Also, choose the difficulty level. Now you can enter your content. You can type, you can use pictures, you can use tables, you can link to other URLs, you can insert audio and video, you can insert a YouTube video, and so forth. There is no limit to your creativity. Feel free to upload multimedia content at any time. Note that you can also upload multimedia content into the different answer choices. If you, for example, wanted to practice listening comprehension in English, you could use audio so that the students choose which answer is appropriate to this question. If you wish to select a correct answer choice, just click on the letter and it will turn green. You can even have 2 correct answer choices. Put the random order on in order to make sure that A is not always A when displayed to the students. This prevents them from copying from each other or just memorizing the answer choices instead of really understanding the course material. Add more selections by clicking the blue button, or delete those selections by using the red bin button. Insert an explanation here to make sure that your students understand what the correct solution is and why it is correct. Use the tag function to later on find content more easily. Simply type and hit the return button on your keyboard. You can choose the time limit for your students when they answer a question. However, you can also choose the automatic adjustment, which is the default option. The automatic adjustment will adjust the time limit according to how every student is doing on a question. This makes sure that the time is not too much or too little for a student to answer. However, you can also choose the time limit on your own. If everything is finished, you have saved to the correct chapter, selected your difficulty level and inserted the question, you can use the green button to save the question. As you can see here, create question was successful, and you will now later on be able to visit your question list here. If we go to chapter Simple Past, how were you yesterday is included in the question bank, so everything seems to be working great. Now return to the teacher console. I would like to know how my students are doing in their class, so I will have to go to the statistics section. Here I can either export data as an Excel file in order to use the student grading in my LMS or my grading system offline so that PaGamO is completely compatible with any kind of grading system. Or I can view the statistical charts online. When I do that, I will first get a class overview over my students' performance in every question set assigned thus far and whether the assignments have been completed. The percentage shows me the class average of how many questions are solved correctly by the students. Here I can see the different current question sets that I have assigned. Note that if the tab is blue, that means the students are already working on it. If the tab is white, that means no student has started the assignment yet. This makes sense since we just created the English 2 question set a few minutes ago. In the section analysis, I can see how the class performed in each chapter of a question set. I can see whether they completed and whether they solved it correctly. In the question set grammar task, for example, I included 2 different chapters, conjugation and the simple past, and I can see that the correct rate in the conjugation part is not as high as in the simple past part. If I was a teacher, I could probably go over chapter 1 just one more time in order to make sure that the whole class has a good understanding. The incorrect answer ranking gives me an overview over which questions were most challenging for the students. This also gives me a good overview over which questions I may have to repeat with the entire class. Finally, the class ranking shows me which person has taken over most territories and solved most questions. If I switch over to the Student Statistics tab, I can see individual student statistics rather than the class overview. This shows how each student individually has done on their assignments. I can see the completion rate as well as the correct rate. My completion here, for example, was 100%, but my correct was only 66.7%. Clicking on the percentage numbers gives me an overview over the student's whole statistical history. I can see how they've done on each question set, each question, and the list of the questions they have had most issues with in the incorrect answer ranking. If I just click the Teacher Console button, I return back home to the initial overview over my classes. Alright, in this tutorial you got an insight on how to group students and view a student list, how to create question sets and assign missions to your students, and how to upload new questions as part of your new content for your question sets and assignments. Finally, we showed you how to view the grading of your students in the statistics section. If you have any questions, you can always refer to our website at www.official.pagamo.com.tw and see the frequently asked questions there, or ask one of our representatives for advice. We'll be happy to help. Now enjoy teaching with PaGamO. Thank you!